Hello, good evening, students. Can you hear me? Okay, good. Good evening, Abdullah Mirza. Good evening, Nishant. Let's wait for 2-3 minutes. Okay, then we'll start with the class. So, where were we? Nishant and Abdullah Mirza. We were doing exercise 1.1, right? So, did we do question number 2 of exercise 1.1? So, I'm starting, okay? I'll share my screen. Nishant and Abdullah Mirza, right? Good evening. Yeah. So let me share. Okay, let's. So good evening, Adi. Can you hear me? Good evening. Good evening, all of you. So let's start with the class. Okay, let me see what went wrong. We'll see if during the class it is lagging. Tell me, okay, Nishant? Okay, let's start the class. Okay, so Nishant, Adi, uh, did we do question number 2? Do you remember? Can anybody tell me? Did we do question number 2 or we have to do? Okay, I can't see my chat box again today. I don't know what's wrong with this one. Okay, let's start with question number 2 then. Just a moment. See, students are coming late. Okay, keep telling me. Nishan, can you tell me, did we do question number 2 or not? From exercise 1.1. Okay, then let's do, because all these questions are important. So let's do question number 2, exercise 1.1. We did not do, okay. Okay, Adi, thanks. Thanks. Okay, let's do then. Okay. See, let's read the question together. First one, I remember we did. Show that any positive odd integer is of the form 6q plus 1, 6q plus 3, or 6q plus 5, where q is some integer. Correct? So for solution, what we have to start with? Let A be a positive integer, isn't it? We'll start with let A be any positive integer. So let A be any positive. For those of you who just joined, we have started question number 2 from exercise 1.1. Okay. So just read the question is on the screen. So we are saying let A be any positive integer, right? Then what should we be? We did such questions, right? From the question we get to know it is 6q plus 1, 6q plus 3, 6q plus 5. So let's take B as 6. Okay. Then by Euclid's division lemma, what should happen? There exist Q and R. There exist some integers. It's some integers Q and R such that what happens? A is equal to BQ plus R. And what happens to R? R should be less than B, but it can take value greater than equal to 0. Correct. So what A can be written as 6Q plus R, and R can take values. R can be greater than equal to 0 or it can be less than 6. Correct. So this implies R can take values 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Correct. So for now what we can say that if A is equal to, for R equal to 0, will imply A is equal to 6 times Q, which is equal to 2 times 2 into 3 times Q. So it's a multiple of 2 or completely divisible by 2. Anything you can write. Okay. So you will see that for R equal to 0, A is equal to 2 into 3 times Q. So A is completely divisible by 2. So then A is even. Okay. A is completely divisible by 2. So A is even. What is the question? It says positive odd integer. Correct. So we will say when all we will have odd ones. So for R equal to 1, it will be odd, correct? For R equal to 1, A is equal to 6Q plus 1. Right? Now this is not completely divisible by 2. So it is odd. Okay, you will write that. So A is not completely divisible by 2. So A is odd positive integer. So in this way, if you will continue, for R equal to 2, it will be even. Okay. Because A, what will happen? This will be A equal to 6Q plus 2. So which is equal to 2 times 3Q plus 1. So then again completely divisible. So that line you will write. Okay. So A is positive even integer. Okay. Then for R is equal to 3, what will happen? It will be odd. Okay, A is equal to 6Q plus 3. So then it is not completely divisible. So this will imply that A is odd. Correct? Like this, we will proceed. And for R equal to 4, it will be even. And R equal to 5, it is. R equal to 4, sorry. Just a minute. R equal to 4, A is equal to 6Q plus 4. That's equal to 2 times 3Q plus 2. So again, this will imply A is positive even integer. And for lastly r equal to 5, we will have odd. A will be odd. Okay, hence proved. R equal to 5, A is equal to 6q plus 5. So again, it is not completely divisible. So A is odd, positive, odd integer. Correct? So hence prove that any positive odd integer can be of the form 6q plus 1, 6q plus, see what all odd integer here. We have odd integer here, and for what? And 6q plus 1. Okay? A is not coming, so A is odd integer. Right? See here. So we got it now. For 6q plus 1, if A is positive odd integer, it can be 6q plus 1 or 6q plus 3 or 6q plus 5. Any doubts, anybody? Clear to all of you? Correct. So this one is clear, right? Okay. Okay, see next question. Okay, I'll scroll up. Just give me a minute. I'll scroll up. So those of you who are writing can write. See? Okay. I'm giving you 2 minutes. Just copy if you want. Meanwhile, those who are not writing, please read the next question. Try to understand yourself, then I'm going to discuss. So once you're finished writing, please send a message, write in the box. Okay, so that I move to question number 3. See, meanwhile, all of you, rest of you read question number 3. Okay. See, okay, let's read this next question. See, what is the question? An army contingent of 606 members is to march behind an army band of 32 members in a parade. The two groups are to march in the same number of columns, right? What is the maximum number of columns in which they can march? So basically what they're saying, there are going to be some number of columns, we don't know how many. So some number of columns. So first what will happen? This band, it will be an army band, and behind them in the same number of columns, okay, we have to put our army contingent. Okay. Or let me write army members. So how many are these? These are 32 in number, and these are going to be 616. So like number of columns will be same, but the lines will be very, very big. Okay. So what we have to find? We have to find their HCF, isn't it? If we find their HCF, we will get the number of columns. So let's find the HCF. Okay. So you find the HCF of these two numbers. So how use Euclid's division lemma. So 616, you have to write as 32 into something. Means we have to find out Q and R. Fine. Try to find HCF. Okay, Nishan. But give me this answer. 616 equal to, give me an equation form. Okay. Because in exam also you can't directly find the HCF in long division method. You have to use Euclid's division lemma. Okay. So be careful. So this will be like 616 equal to 32 into 19, okay, plus what will be the remainder? 29. Okay. 619 plus remainder is 8. Okay. Let me see. Gujot and Nishan, did you check it? Because otherwise I have to do and see. See what happens. We have 616 divided by 32. So 1 times 32. How much is left? Isn't it? So 8, 9 is here, and from here we have 5. Okay. Then we bring this down. Correct. Correct. So 19 times. And remainder is 8. Correct. 288 times it will go. And 8 will be correct. So remainder is 8 here. Okay. After this, what will happen? We have 32 is equal to 8 into Q plus R. So 4 times. Correct. So then 8 is the HCF. That means if we form 8 columns, what will happen? That all of them can fit completely. Okay. We can have 8 columns as HCF is 8. So finally write the answer. HCF of 616 and 32 is 8. So that means we need to make 8 columns, right? Okay, let's take up next question. Now this question slightly different than the other ones. Okay, just when you will read, you will understand what they are saying. See the question. Use Euclid's division lemma to show that the square of any positive integer. Okay, so here what is different? Square of any positive integer. Okay, this we have to be careful when we are reading the question. They are talking about square or they are just talking about a positive number. Till now we did positive numbers. Okay, so square of any positive integer is either of the form 3m or 3m plus 1. So we have to show that if we have a positive integer, okay, its square can either be 3m, can be written as 3m or 3m plus 1. Correct. So see, my hint is I'll start with let a be a positive integer like our normal questions. Let a be a positive integer. And we will take let and b be equal to 3. Right? So then what are the cases? You write the lemma. By Euclid's division lemma, there exists Q and R. Okay, I'm not writing. You have to write. There exists Q and R so that A is equal to BQ plus R and R has to be less than B but greater than equal to 0. Sorry. So it has to be greater than equal to 0. So what is B? B is 3. So it can be 3Q plus R and R can be greater than equal to 0 but less than 3. So now that means R can take value 0, 1 and 2. Clear? Okay, till here same, no? Okay, after this, that means we can have for R equal to 0, A is equal to 3 times Q. r equal to 1, a is equal to 3q plus 1. R equal to 2, a is equal to 3q plus 2. Correct. Now we want to show that if we take square of these, they will be of the form 3m or 3m plus 1. So we will take square of each one of them. Okay. Now if a is equal to 3q, then a square will be what? 3q whole square, right? So this can be written as what? 9 times q square, which can be written as 3 into 3q square. Okay, 3 into 3q square. Now q is any integer, right? Because by Euclid's division lemma, we stated that q and r are integers. So this, if we substitute 3q square is equal to m, okay, let 3q square is equal to m. So what happens? So a square is equal to 3 times m. Any doubt till here? Because see, this is slightly new. Understood. So first we started with the normal lemma. Then this time we are taking squares. Okay, of each one of them. This is not finished as yet. Okay, we will do more. After this, what we'll do? Now, if A is equal to 3q plus 1, again we want to prove that it will be of the form 3m or 3m plus 1. So what to do? Take the square. So we will take a square is equal to 3q plus 1 the whole square. So what is the formula? A plus b whole square formula we will use. So a square plus 2 into a into b plus b square. Correct? So what is this? 9q square plus 6q plus 1. Now see, here from these two I can take out 3 common, right? So what is left? 3q square plus 2q plus 1. Correct? Now this I can replace. Now if I substitute, let 3q square plus 2q is equal to m. Okay? Because m is any integer they are saying in the question also for some integer m. So this is surely if you put this value as m, your a square will become 3m plus 1. Right? So only one part is left now. What happens when r is 2? Okay, sorry. So when r is 2, we have to take 3q plus 2. A is 3q plus 2 and square it. See? So again, for r, if a is equal to 3q plus 2, what will happen? We have to square and show. So a square will be equal to 3q plus 2 whole square. Right? Open it, a plus b whole square formula. Do. So 9q square plus, what will this be? 12q, isn't it? 2 into 3q into 2 plus 2 whole square 4. So this is equal to 9q square plus 12q plus 4. Okay, see now how I will adjust. Okay. See, if I just take these two, I won't be able to write in 3m plus 1 form. Okay, so let me write this 4 as 3 plus 1. So see, 3q square, this adjustment we have to make. 3 plus 1 if I write now, it's okay. Now this whole thing I can take 3 common. So what is left? 3q square plus 4q plus 1 plus 1. Now what will be m? M will be, so let m will be 3q square plus 4q plus 1. Correct? So then a square will be equal to 3m plus 1. So then finally you will write, hence, from the question you write, if a is a positive integer, okay, then its square can be written in the form 3m or 3m plus 1. If a is a positive integer, then it can be, then its square can be written in the form 3m or 3m plus 1. Any doubt? Anybody, any doubt is there? Have you understood what we are doing? Are you writing? Or should I proceed, or are you people writing? Then I'll wait. Nishant, Gurjot Singh, clear? Okay, okay. Okay, let me take up next question. Okay, see next question. Use Euclid's division lemma to show that cube of any positive integer is of the form 9m, 9m plus 1 and 9m plus 8. Okay, so now similar question, but cube we have to take. Question number 5, we have to show cube of a positive integer. Okay, we have to show cube of positive integer is of the form can be of the form 9m, 9m plus 1 or 9m plus 8. So we'll start with a, let a be a positive integer. Okay, start with let a be a positive integer. What should be b? See, we may think of taking b as 9, isn't it? Or we may also think of, in this particular question, we can take let b equal to 3. So this question is slightly different. Okay, this is a cube question. See, so we are taking for this particular question b is equal to 3. Okay, otherwise if I take 9, see how many terms will come. R will be less than 9, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Those many terms we have to do. But if I take b equal to 3, we can still prove. Okay. So you can remember that for this question, when we have 9m, 9m plus 1, we can take b equal to 3. Okay. Then you state division lemma. State Euclid's division lemma. So then after that you will have that A can be written as BQ plus R, where R is greater than equal to 0, less than B. See, taking B equal to 3 will help me a lot. Otherwise, then we have to take lot of cases. There will be 8 cases, no? So A is equal to 3Q plus R. And then R has to be less than 3, greater than equal to 0. So only 3 cases we will get. Implies that R can be either 0, 1 or 2. So then for R equal to 0, A will be 3Q. R equal to 1, A is 3Q plus 1. R equal to 2, A is 3Q plus 2. Correct? After this, now we have to prove that if you take the cube of them, let's take cube one by one. So for A equal to 3Q, A cube is equal to 3Q whole cube. So that's how much? 3 into 3, 9, 3 times 27. Correct? So 27Q times cube. This I can write as 3 times, what we have to take? 9, right? So let's take out 9. So 9 if you take here, we are left with 3Q cube. Correct? So let M be equal to 3 times Q cube. Then A cube can be written as 9 times M. So we can say, okay, let's name it 1. Next one, for A equal to 3Q plus 1. A cube will be equal to 3Q plus 1 whole cube. What is the formula? A plus B whole cube formula. Let me write for you all. Apply that. Okay, A plus B whole cube is equal to A cube plus 3 times A square B plus 3 times AB square plus B cube. Use this formula. So I will also use it here. Okay. So what will happen? 3 times Q whole cube plus 3 times A square means 3Q whole square into B is 1 plus 3 times 3Q whole power 1 into 1 whole square plus 1 whole cube. This you have to do. Open it up. What will happen? We will have 9 3 times 27Q cube plus how much here? So this is 3Q whole square. So 9 3 27 Q square. Okay, then this is 9Q plus 1. From all of this we can take out 9 common. So 9 is out. How much is left? 3 times Q cube plus 3 times Q square plus Q plus 1. Then let M is equal to 3Q cube plus 3Q square plus Q. Okay, so then what happens? Our A cube will be equal to what? 9M plus 1. So let me mark it 2. Next thing, what is left? When A is for A equal to 3M plus 2, A cube will be equal to what? 3M plus 2 whole cube. Again use the same formula. A plus B whole cube formula use. So 3M whole cube plus 3A square B. So 3 into 3M square into 2 plus 3 AB square. So 3 into 3M into 2 square plus B cube. So 2 cube. Simply I applied a plus b whole cube formula. This is equal to how much? 27. Sorry, this I had to take q. We will substitute. Students, please rectify this thing. By mistake, I took m. M we will substitute, no? So we will have how much? So we will have 27q cube plus this will be how much? 54. Isn't it? 9, 3 times 27. 27 into 2 is 54. So 54 q square plus how much here? 9 4 times. Isn't it? This is 2 square. So 9 4 times 36 q plus this will be 8. Right? So see, here do I have to adjust because we have to show 9m plus 8. So directly from here I can take out 9 and plus 8 already coming. No need of any adjustments. So this will be, if I take out 9, I am left with 3q cube plus 6q square plus 4q plus 8. Right? Now let m be equal to 3q cube plus 6q square plus 4 times q. So then what will happen? A cube will be equal to 9 times m plus 8. So this is our third one. And then what we'll write? The statement from our question. Okay, we will say that from 1, 2, and 3, we have proved that from 1, 2, and 3. We have proved that cube of a positive integer is of the form 9m, 9m plus 1 or 9m plus 8. Any doubt is there? Anybody, any doubt? Are you writing it? Okay, have you written? Should I proceed? All of you, did you write this? So we have finished our exercise 1.1. Okay, so now I will start with, correct. So good, since you have written it, we'll move further ahead. Okay, so for now, we don't need a book right now. Okay. So we will do fundamental theorem of arithmetic. See, this is a very simple concept, but the thing is, let's try to understand what they're saying. Okay, suppose I have a number. Okay, let me take a positive integer. Let's talk about, say, 35. Okay, so if I want to factorize it, I can start with 5. So 5 7 times 35 and 7 1 time. So I can write 35 as 5 into 7, right? Or I could have started my 35 factorization by 7, and then I get 5, and then 5 one time. So, or I could have got 35 is equal to 7 into 5. So basically, do you realize that 35 was a composite number? Isn't it? It's a composite number. And we have written it as a product of prime numbers. Okay. These are also prime numbers. So that means any composite, can we write any composite number as the product of primes? Let's see another one. Let's take, say, 156. Let's try to factorize. So 2, 7 times 14, 8 times. See here, 2, then 3 times 6, 9 times 18. Then I can take 3, 13 times, and then 13, 1 times. So that means we can write our 156 as 2 into 2 into 3 into 13. Correct? See here. So now 156 was a composite number. But our 2, 3 and 13 are all prime numbers. Correct? So that means the fundamental theorem says that any composite number you have, you can write it as the product of prime numbers. Okay, this is what the fundamental theorem is saying. So fundamental theorem of arithmetic we will state. So we say that the concept is this. Okay, we are talking about that any composite number can be written as, so fundamental theorem of arithmetic. So what we are saying, this theorem says that if you have any composite number, that every composite number, you know, right? Composite and prime numbers. Hopefully you know. Anybody who doesn't know, write it. Write in the chat box. Then I will explain. Every composite number can be expressed as a product of, I'll just see, a product of primes. And this factorization is unique. Means I will make you understand what this line means, that it is unique. Okay. And then we can say apart, this also I will make you understand. Apart okay. Now can you hear me? Okay, what are prime and composite number? I'll quickly review. So numbers which have factor other than itself. For example, if I take say 6, okay, it has factors 2, 3, 1, 6. Okay, these are composite numbers. So composite numbers have factors other than 1 and 6. If I talk about 7, what are the factors? Only 1 and 7, right? No other factor is possible, so it is prime. Clear, Nishant? So composite numbers have no factor other than 1 and itself. And prime numbers don't have. Hopefully now you can hear me, Nishan. All of you can hear me, right? Okay. So now see what we are saying here. We are saying that every composite number can be written expressed as the product of primes. Correct. So I showed you some examples above. I showed you like 35. I showed you it can be written as 3 into 7. Sorry. It can be written as 7 into 5, isn't it? Or somebody can start with 5, so then the other person may write 5 into 7, right? And 156 we just saw, you can write it 156. I just showed we can have 2 into 2 into 3 into 13. Okay. So is there any other way that I can write 35 as? Or I can write 1 into 35. That's okay. That's that's not factorization. So if we are factorizing, can we have more factors here? No, no. We cannot have, right? Hmm. So we cannot have, no? So that is what this line means. That this factorization is unique. Means you cannot write 35 as 6 into something. Okay, you will have uniqueness. It can be either 7 into 5 or 5 into 7. Okay, apart from the order in which the prime factor occurs, means I can have 7 into 5 or I can write 5 into 7. Means numbers will be same, only the order can change. Like here 156 can be written as 3 into 2 into 2 into 13 also. I can write it as 13 into 2 into 2 into 3 also. Isn't it? But the numbers are same, right? That is what it says. That order in which they are written can be different. Okay. This is what the theorem is saying. So ultimately, this theorem is telling us if you arrange them in, once you decide that I will write my factors in a ascending order, what will happen? Suppose I decide no, I am going to write my factors in ascending order. So then I will write my 35 as 5 into 7 only. Okay. And then my 156 can only be written as 2 into 2 into 3 into 13. Because once we decide that we will write factors in ascending order. Okay. So once we decide that we will write our factors in ascending order, it will be unique and always it can be written in this way only. Okay. So see, we will use this property, this fundamental theorem of arithmetic in many applications. Like we use division lemma to find HCF and also to do questions like properties of numbers, those 3q, 3q plus 1, 3q plus 2 types. Similarly, we can use this fundamental theorem of arithmetic also. Okay, so let's do its first application. I will show you how to do it. Okay, so we are doing application of how we can apply this. Application of fundamental theorem of arithmetic. See, this we can use one example and show. Okay, we are saying that consider, see, question will be like this. Consider the number 4 power n, correct? Where it is given n is natural number. N is a natural number. Then you have to check whether there is any value of n for which 4 power n ends with digit 0. Okay. So we have to check. Is there any power of n for which we can have 4 power n end with a 0? So see how we will use fundamental theorem of arithmetic. Okay. See, if let's talk about 4 power n. 4 power n can be written as, if we want to prime factorize it, okay, it can be written as 2 into 2 whole power n, correct? So only 2 and 2 are the factors. Now think of any number which ends with a 0, okay? So if the number has to end with a 0, what should happen? It should have 5 as a prime factor, okay? So we will write that. If a number ends with a 0, then it is divisible by 5, okay? If it is which will imply that 5 is one of the prime factors, correct? And that number should be written, you can write it, for instance, suppose, let me take some number, suppose 10, okay, example. If it is 10, you can write it as 2 into 5, no? Right? So 5 has to be one of the factors. But in 4 power n, can 5 ever be a factor? But 4 power n is equal to 2 into 2 whole power n. Okay? Implies that 5 is not a prime factor. Isn't it? 5 can never be a prime factor for this one. So it can never end for, you cannot find any n for which it will end with a 0. Okay? So there is no natural number n for which 4 power n ends with digit 0. Is it like, could you understand how we use fundamental theorem? Nishant, Abdullah Mirza, Johan Jos. This is a new variety, right? So can you do, there is one question in your exercise which is similar to this question. Let's do that question first before moving ahead. Okay. So there's this question. So this is question number 5. Okay, question number 5, exercise 1.2. I'm writing the question. It's check whether 6 power n, okay, can end with the digit 0. For any natural number. for any natural number n. So same, isn't it? It's very same. Can you do on your own? Try. I'll give you 2 minutes. Try it. So see, again, we will have the same thing like the previous one, only that our 6 power n we will write as 2 into 3 whole power n. So that means it will be 2 power n into 3 power n type only. This we could have done here also. It's 2 power n type only. So again, we will say if the number has to end with a 0, then what should happen? If the number has to end with a 0, it will have 5 in the prime factorization. But 6 cannot have, right? 5 and 6 power n will never have 5 in the prime factors. So hence, for no natural number n, 6 power n can end with a 0. Right? On the similar lines you move, like the previous question. Please do it, complete it, students. Once you are done, let me know. Have you finished? Once you finish it, there's another application of this theorem, fundamental theorem of arithmetic. It has another application. We can find HCF and LCM using it. None of you have completed? Done, Gurjot, good. Any doubt is there, Gurjot? Is there any doubt? Good, good. Johan, good. So like this is one application. There is another application. We can find HCF and LCM using our fundamental theorem. So what we'll do, we can do the second application in the next class, right? Because almost time is over. I have to give time to others also. Nishant, haven't you done? You didn't finish? Others? What about other students? Okay, good. So the next application is how to use fundamental theorem to find HCF and LCM. Okay, so what we'll do, we'll start in the next class because we won't be able to finish right now. Okay. Okay, so let's stop for today. Thanks all students for attending the class. See you in the next class. Okay, and if you have any doubts, you can send me. Yes, ask, Slade, write it in the chat box. Let me see. Okay, okay, Slade, ask me your doubt. I've given access to you. Okay, by mistake. Okay. Anyway, see students, if you raise hand, actually I can give you access, but when there are a lot of students, I can't give. Okay. So otherwise, when we are taking classes, if we have less number of students, I can always give you access and we can talk. Okay. Anyways, thank you all of you. See you in the next class.